to another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. We are not in the studio today. We've had some snow and whatnot, so we're doing a lot of recording here from the house. Did you guys get some snow where you're at, Mike?
Yeah, not too bad. I don't know. Probably we're supposed to get 2 to 4 inches. Is probably about that. Fortunately, we didn't have the ice like we had in January, so it doesn't seem to be too bad here right now.
Very good. Well, we are joined today for a coach's preview. Head coach Blair Oaks High School, defending Class 4 state champs Mike DeMilia. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Happy to be here.
Well, I went and looked at a bunch of different stuff. I always do this, trying to find different things about the school, the program, and things of that nature. The Tri-County conference that you're in, Central, it's loaded. That's no cakewalk. And you were 5-1 in that conference. Your overall record last year was 26-13. The history of the school, they have since 2012. You guys have had 5 district titles, 3 Final Four appearances, 19, 21, and 24, and 2 state championships. My mouth quit working there. Championships. There it is. In 19 and 24, you had a second place in 21. Talk to us about this program. And, there's a lot of tradition here, Coach.
Yeah, and certainly you're forgetting about the '06 and '07 championships that Brian Ash had there in the mid-2000s. And but our school just in general has so many successful programs, and we have so many good athletes going through, and a lot of parental support, a lot of community support, and it's not too hard to be good in sports at Blair Oaks. Certainly, we're proud we've done lately in baseball. I think we've had a really good run. Being in 3 Final Fours in the last 5 seasons. It gets kind of weird with COVID in 2020. I don't know if you're supposed to count that or not, but that's a terrific accomplishment. And as you said, we have played in a tough conference. With Southern Boone, and Eldon was really good last year. Boonville is always really good. Hallsville had some really good teams too. And so, Mid-Missouri baseball is really good in my opinion, and certainly our conference and is that. And of course, you got the bigger schools in Jeff City and Columbia that have really good too. So we're really proud of the baseball community in Mid-Missouri, but specifically the Blair Oaks. I mean, I think we have a great thing going, and we have a lot of good kids, a lot of good players, and really happy what we've accomplished over the last few years.
Coach, one of the things that stood out to me when I saw your team last year at the state championships was the amount of kids on your roster. And I looked through that coming back this year. You're only losing 5 seniors, which is impressive as it is. But how do you get so many kids coming out for baseball, especially in a Class 4 school? You got a pretty deep squad there.
Yeah, I mean, our schools, anywhere from about 420 to 430 students typically, and we're going to have about 57, 58 players trying out this year. It's a big baseball community, and that's why I said this thing's been going on for a long time. There's, a lot of our parents of our players were baseball players, in high school. A lot of them played at Blair Oaks, or there's a few from Fatima and Jeff City and things like that. But it's just a really good baseball community, and the kids care about it, and they put a lot of time into it, and the parents are invested in it as well. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, I coached in Omaha for multiple years in high schools with 2,000 kids, and we would have like 35 kids try out, and so to be at a school this size with that many kids is incredible. And it's definitely an advantage for us because, I mean, you figure if you got that many kids, you're going to find some guys that can play. But it does present its challenges too, is trying to get everybody on the field and trying to keep everybody happy. And that's certainly going to be a huge issue with our team this year. Last year's team had really good attitude. We really didn't have many really issues with players being selfish or anything like that. But this team, I'm hoping it'll be the same way. But you never know when you get in there.
It's interesting too when I look through this at Boonville, Southern Boone, as we talked about, Hallsville, California, Eldon, Osage. You guys are spread out over three different districts when it comes to postseason. How difficult does it make that for scheduling, in that respect? Because you're looking at seeding when it comes to seeding, and how many of these teams do you get on your schedule as opposed to what you get for your district?
Well, it's a challenge being in mid Missouri, especially in the smaller classes. Is we bounce all over the place. I mean, 2 years ago we were in a district with Southern Boone and Father Tolton, who were defending state champions, and you had us and Fatima and Fulton in there, five really good teams, and Fulton was the 5 seed, ended up winning it. And then this last year, we all kind of split up. Fulton went over to St. Louis, Southern Boone and Tolton were together, and then we went out west to Eldon. So from a year to year basis, we never quite know where we're going to be and who we're going to be with. And so fortunately, the teams we just mentioned are automatically on our schedule. We are playing pretty much everybody in mid Missouri who is our class and higher. So for the most part, we hit all the district teams we're going to play. I know last year Buffalo was in our district; we didn't play them. But besides that, we have everybody else in our schedule typically. So
I know just last year you went to the Columbia tournament, which is that's a gauntlet in and of itself. I don't know. Do you have that on your schedule again this year?
absolutely, it'll be on our schedule till the last day I coach at Blair Oaks.
What does that do for you? What does that do for your team, Coach?
Well, I have to admit, my first year coaching, I was talking to my AD, and he was thinking we should get out of it because we just didn't fit in there. And I think the coach previous to me was thinking about getting out of it. And the first thing I did, I was like, "We're staying in this." And he goes, "Well, you're probably gonna get beat." And I'm like, "Yeah, we probably will." I mean, we're gonna play some really good programs. We're gonna play some big schools, and and so early on, I mean, I know the first year I coached there, we went 0-5, and I think we had a couple close games. We got blown out quite a few. And then the better we've gotten, the more competitive we've gotten, the more our kids love to play in it. Last year, we went 1-4 in it, but our kids were ready to play. Like they were so fired up. We played Francis Howell, who was at the time, I think, the number one team in the state. Right off the bat, we lose a 2-1 game, had a chance to win. And then I know we played a really good game with Willard. They were up like 11-1. We came all the way back and took the lead, and they ended up walking us off in the seventh. And and then so we ended up, like I said, not having the success record wise, but I think we got better. We played really good competition, as I said. We were able to, I think, playing in the Columbia tournament exposes any weaknesses we had, and we had a few things that we weren't very good at, and we had to go to work and get better with that kind of with certain things, and and that tournament always helps us, I think, in the postseason. Is we've played all those teams I just mentioned, and then when we get to the postseason, it's like we've already played teams just as good as this or better than this, so we're not intimidated. We feel like we're ready for about any challenge we can have in the postseason.
And I think every time I talk to coaches like Perkins, like Tau, Goff, Hughes, McGee, McElliott, all around the state, they're always looking for that tough competition, get their team going, keep them moving in that right direction. And like you said, I think you guys were like 0-4 in the Columbia tournament, but I'm looking at the scores. You lost 3 one-run games.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while we get beat pretty good in there, but usually we're in every game. I mean, 2 years ago we played Howell. We made it to the semifinals, and we lost a tough game to Rockbridge. And then we're in the third place game with Francis Howell, and we threw 3 JV pitchers at him, and we lost like 3-0. And I mean, we've got enough depth. At times we have the top end arm and some top end bats, but usually it's just our depth can actually hang with them. I think a lot of small schools would have trouble going to to the Columbia tournament because of the fact, if we're going 5, 6, 7, 8 deep in your pitching staff, a lot of people can't do that. And then, we play we play a ton of kids in that tournament. We don't play the same lineup every single day. So, we're able to do that because of our numbers. Certainly if we had 25 kids trying out, it'd be really hard to do that. But, as I said, it's probably the one tournament outside the postseason our kids get really up for. And we know at the end of the day, we're probably going to get beat a couple times, but our kids are okay with that.
Yeah. You got to let me know if you know. We came out there to do a site survey, make sure we knew where we were going, and we're getting ready to do March 26th, folks. Shameless plug here. St. Francis Borgia will be traveling to Blair Oaks. We're going to be there live streaming that game. Looking forward to it. It's our opener. Two very good teams in the state. Two good programs in the state. On the field, there was some guys playing. They were a little snowy, but it cracked me up. We see these snowmen out in the batter's box and on the mound. Do you know who did that?
Yeah, I do. It was one of our players named Jackson Houston. He was out there with some girl, I think. I don't even know who he was with. And it was one of our 5 snow days, but at the beginning of the school year. And he just went out there and they made a couple snowmen. And somebody sent me a picture. And I mean, it didn't really bother me at all. The problem is that snowman turned into an ice ball. And so we finally got the field clear. And we were out there doing some preseason stuff, but it was just a huge ice ball in the middle of the infield. So we're hitting ground balls and you're having to try to avoid it. And so it took like 3 or 4 days longer than the rest of the field to actually melt. So it was kind of cool, but then it got kind of annoying when we actually got out there.
So Jackson, no more snowmen, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping he's not out there today. I probably should go check.
I love it. Coach, you got coming off a state championship win. How do you keep these kids focused? You got a lot of returning players. What's the message to your kids?
Well, a couple things. One, I don't think it's going to be a huge issue for us to be motivated because it probably going to sound arrogant. A lot of people don't like Blair Oaks, but this is what we are. We expect to win championships. I mean, that's just what we think we're supposed to do. So our kids have the expectation we're supposed to be playing in the Final Four again, and so I think the motivation is there. I don't think we're in a situation where we think we have it wrapped up and we don't have to work hard. I think we know that there's a lot of good teams out there, and we're going to have a tough road in the regular season, but of course the postseason as well. So the message is that 2024 is over. And last year's team won state. Even though we have a lot of returners, this team hasn't done anything yet. This team hasn't won a game yet. And so even though there's a lot of familiar faces, it's still a different dynamic. There's different leaders. There's different everything. It's going to be a different feel without those 5 seniors. So I think we're in a good spot where I think we're in the right frame of mind that we're trying to accomplish something for this team and not really worried about defending a title or anything like that. We're just trying to win here in 2025.
There you go. I always like to start with pitching because I think that's the anchor of it. Boom. Mm-hmm. You got to get 3 outs, and it starts with the guy throwing the pill from the mound. Looking at what I saw from last year, you got 4 kids that had significant innings. It was spread out a lot, but a 2025 Riley Schneiders had 22 2/3. Zane Halford had 23 2/3. Hayden Lackman, as a sophomore, had 34 innings. And then Wyatt Libbert with 26 inning pitch. Is that the kids you're going to be leaning on this year?
I think for sure at the beginning of the year that those are probably the 4 that we think are probably at the top of the chain there. And you were talking about pitching. Absolutely. I'm by heart a hitting person. I want to score 10 runs every game. But as a head coach, there's no doubt you cannot win a championship without good pitching. I mean, unless you're hitting 400 or something, which not going to happen very often, you know. So even though it hurts me to put priority on pitching and spend that time getting those guys ready, I'd rather be taking 2 hours of batting practice. But at the end of the day, you know that's where we're going to win and lose. And it certainly was no different last year. It was no different in 2019 and 2021. We're in the championship game. So, but those four guys for sure, in that order, I don't know what order it's going to be. I think they're all pretty close. You know, I think we had a clear cut number one last year in Jacob Tillman. You know, but 2 through 5 or 2 through 6, they were all pretty jumbled. And certainly the four guys you named, I mean, any one of those guys could be our number one this year. You know, certainly Wyatt wins, you know, gets us this win in the state title game. Hayden honestly was probably our number two most of the year. And then Zane was in our rotation, but did a great job out of the bullpen in the postseason there. And Riley threw a bunch of big innings too. And so all those guys are college level pitchers. They're all guys who I feel that can beat anybody on our schedule. But we also, I mean, we got 5 or 6 other guys that, you know, that I think can get people out as well. And so, you know, it could be those four that we're leaning on, but there's probably a number of other guys who could really step up and get into that mix as well.
Who are some of the kids that we should look at here as far as maybe a sophomore that we don't know about, a junior, somebody that's coming into that mix? If you got another 4 or 5 guys with these four, oh my gosh, that's huge depth, Coach.
Yeah, we have a couple more seniors. One is my son, Nolan DeMilia. I hate talking about my son. Everybody thinks I favor him, but you know, he had some big innings for us last year. He threw a lot of JV innings, was really good on JV level, and we expect him to come in and do some good things. Carson Rustemeyer is another one who had some innings there. Again, more of a JV guy, but was really good. But then we have a couple of, you know, Vander Halford, who didn't pitch on varsity last year. He's a position player for us, but threw some on the freshman team, and he's looked really good in bullpen so far. You know, we got a couple other guys, a kid named Caden Schulte, who's a junior who has struggled a little bit with command and things, but has a live arm. I mean, he's probably as talented as any of our pitchers, and if he can get in the zone a little more often, I think he's in that mix. And so, and as I tell us coaches talk about every year, at the end of the year, we'll look back and there's always a guy that we didn't expect was going to be a big pitcher for us, a big player, who ends up just being a guy towards the end of the year for us. And so I think there's numerous other guys who could be in that mix as well. But those are kind of the 7 or 8 guys. I think they're kind of the top of the heap right now.
Yeah. You've got defensively holes you're going to fill. I know I saw you had a couple of kids that were behind the plate. You got one coming back, a Nolan Laughlin, looks like catching. Yep. And when you have that experience behind the plate, it makes a huge difference, doesn't it, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a 4-year starter for us. I mean, his freshman year, out of necessity, we were really didn't have much depth at catcher, and so we brought him up as a freshman. He ended up playing some infield for us too, and you know, by the time when he was a sophomore, he became our number one guy. And you know, he's, you know, last year he called pretty much every pitch the entire year too. So that was a real big luxury to have a kid who has that experience, who's, you know, he's really smart, really poised. He handles the pitchers really well. He knows how to communicate with them. And, you know, he just did a great job last year, and we're going to lean on him again to do the same thing. We have another senior who hasn't played much varsity, a kid named Jack Braun, who really I think has looked good in the preseason here. He's just kind of been in a numbers game where he's been stuck on JV for a couple of years, but I think he's a guy who's ready to come out and give some quality innings too. And so definitely, we talk about pitching being, you know, probably the most important thing, but the middle of your defense is big too, with the catcher, shortstop, second baseman, center field, and certainly I think we've got 2 good catchers that are going to give us a chance to win.
Fill in the rest of those holes for us, Coach, as you're going into this 25 season.
Well, I think our two strengths on defense is going to be our shortstop and our third baseman. Evan McCullough is a senior. This will be his third year as a starter at shortstop. Very underrated player. Not many people talk about him, but I tell everybody we wouldn't have won state last year without him at shortstop. I mean, he made some plays throughout the whole season, but particularly in the postseason that were just unbelievable. And offensively, he didn't have a great year offensively, but in the Final Four, he actually had some really, really good at bats. And so we really feel good about him. And then Warren Davis, who is going to be a third-year starter. He started in center field as a freshman, but he's actually more naturally an infielder. We moved him to third base last year. And again, just like Evan, played unbelievable defense for us. So to me, those two are kind of the anchors of our defense with those two and Nolan. Looking in the outfield, we had two senior starters in the outfield, but I think that we have an opportunity. We had Hayden Lackman played quite a bit in the outfield. Zane Halford played quite a bit. Hayden played some first base, also DH, also pitch. So he's done a lot of things for us. But we have some other guys too. I would say that Vander Halford, sophomore, probably has a good chance to be in there. And then we got guys like Owen Shellman, who's been on the varsity for 3 years. Jet Currit, who's been on the varsity for 3 years as well in the outfield. So those are guys that I would look forward to being in the mix. And then first base, it's kind of up in the air. It could be Hayden. Wyatt Libbert is over there as a sophomore. Hasn't had a ton of varsity at bats, but he's looked good so far. Caden Schulte's another one over there. And then a senior, Hunter Henches, who had a really good sophomore year and struggled a little bit last year, but I think he's kind of back on track. And then second base, I'd say the leader right now, probably Brock Burr, who was a starter probably more than half the season last year. He ended up not playing a whole lot in the postseason, but he had a really good year for us. I think guys Cole Ortballs, Nolan DeMilia, sophomore named Cooper Peters could be in the mix there at second base too. But again, as we keep talking about, there's so many names and so many spots that we feel we're going to figure it out, but it may take a while to figure out what our best lineup is.
When you take the first part of the season, especially coming back like this, you got so many guys to deal with. How do you filter through this? Do you use a lot of the first part of the season to see who's going to take that position?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with our schedule, we're playing the 36 games, so we're playing a lot of games. We have a lot of innings to pitch and a lot of at-bats to get. So we've kind of already talked to the coaching staff that when on those heavy weeks, we're probably not going to play anybody every game. We're probably going to sit guys periodically, just give them a little rest and give other guys a chance. So usually I always kind of think that first half of the year, you kind of really try to mix it up and try to give everybody a crack. And then as the season gets closer to the end, you kind of go with that starting 9. But I will say this, the last 2 years, it hasn't worked that way. We've been still trying to figure the lineup, the last week of the year. So I think that's a good problem to have, but it is kind of a problem as well. And but the good thing is if any guys, really get hot or go the opposite, we always have a guy we can put in. And, it's certainly going to be a challenge for coaches, but, we got a real good opportunity to, have a special lineup in there, whoever it is. Like I said, we won't know it for a while for sure.
A couple of juniors that are this year, they're sophomores last year, as you made mention of these two young men, Warren Davis III, Hayden Lackman. They had a lot of offensive production for you last year.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first half of the year, I think Hayden was our best offensive player. I mean, he was really, really good. Hit a little bit of a dry spell there towards the end of the year, but then that's when Warren kind of took off. Warren didn't have a great beginning of the year, but at the end of the year and into the postseason, Warren was kind of our catalyst on offense. We put him in the leadoff spot towards the end of the year, and he really got us going on the offensive side. And so those two guys, are as talented as anybody we have in our program, position player wise for sure. And we're starting to look for them to be a big part of our offense again. But like I said, they both do so much on the defensive side. They run bases. Warren actually can pitch. He hasn't pitched much for us, but he is a capable pitcher, and Hayden's obviously one of our biggest guys on the mound. So knowing that we have him this year and, of course, another year is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. They slug too. So you got a couple guys that pitch. It kind of reminds me of the old Bugs Bunny cartoon, where he's doing it all, man.
That is both those guys. Like I said, Warren as a freshman, we had a couple injuries, and we felt like he was one of our better offensive guys, and we were kind of solid at short and third. And we asked if he wanted to go to center or outfield, and he went out there, and I think he hated every second of it. But at the time he was probably our best outfielder. So he was pretty happy last year to get moved back to third base. But he's a guy that anytime we can put in the outfield, and he would do fine. And Hayden, like I said, he's played center, he played right, he played first, DH, pitch. I mean, he can do about anything. He's left-handed, so we can't quite throw him at shortstop or anything like that. But if he was right-handed, we probably would.
Yeah. Coach, your seniors, there's a Brock Burr that got some, Owen Shellman, Dylan, I don't know, is it Kleagle?
Yeah. Kleagle, yeah, Dylan Kleagle.
What do you see from those guys coming up this year?
Well, I feel bad I didn't mention Dylan as one of the outfielders. He's definitely in the mix in the outfield as well. He got a few at-bats, probably not as many as he wanted, but he had some opportunities to DH and play some left field. Like I said, Owen and Brock have both had a lot of opportunities and have showed glimpses of being really good. What I'm hoping is this year they're a little more consistent. There's a few too many lows in there. And so hopefully they have a lot of highs and they can be a little more stable and more consistent. I could see them being full-time guys for us, and so when they're playing their best, they're really good players. We just, hopefully can get a little more often, but they're both all three of those kids are awesome kids. They play hard. They're coachable. They're from good families. I mean, they're good teammates. I mean, so they're going to be a positive addition to our team in any aspect, but hopefully they do a lot of them on the field for sure.
I'm going to get you out of here on this, Coach, but I got to ask you, because you'd made mention of it early in the show, and I saw there's a couple of DeMilia kids on your team there.
Only one now.
Only one now.
Got rid of one last year, but
what's it been like, and what are the dynamics there? How difficult is it to manage a team with your kids on it?
It is a challenge. I mean, I will say it's been a lot of fun. This will be my 5th year coaching them now. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, there's been a lot of positives, and it's kind of cool to share that with your kids. But there's some pressure to it too. I think there's a little more of a spotlight on them when they screw up. I think it gets magnified even more than when other kids get screwed up. I know there's some people that think there's favoritism going on and things like that. I've never felt that way. I think my kids don't feel that way. I think I yell at them 10 times more than everybody else. But I do rely on my assistant coaches to keep me grounded when it comes to that, because sometimes I'm probably too hard on them. Like there's times they're like, hey, maybe we should play Easton or Nolan or whatever. But I'm always like very like, hey, should we do this? Should we not? What do you think? And my assistant coaches have been really honest with me. There's times when they're like, no, I think someone else should play or someone else should do this. And I'll for the most part, listen to them on that. But it is hard as a dad. I think every parent has blinders for their kid a little bit, whether you're a parent or a coach. And so I try to have people police that for me and make sure I'm doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, I don't want to hurt my kids either. If they deserve to play and I don't put them out there, that's kind of unfair too. So I try to be as fair as possible, but I'm going to enjoy this last year coaching Nolan, but there's no question that next year will be a little less stress not having to deal with it, but I will also miss it as well. So,
yeah. So you're not going out with your son?
No. Well, I mean, they could fire me, I guess, but I'm not quitting with this. So no,
there's always that.
There is always that, and that's the one scary thing at Blair Oaks is you're expected to do things right and to win. And I have some people that aren't always happy with me, but at the end of the day, I plan on being with this program quite a few more years. Not forever for sure, but I plan on, I don't have a timeline. I don't have anything set in stone, but I definitely got probably 5 or 6, 7 years still left, if not more. But, at the end of the day, these, of course, my two sons are the most important, but I've been around these kids for so long that they're kind of surrogate kids to me as well. And I mean, there's not a kid on our program I don't care about and I want to see succeed. So, I could go out with my kid, but there's a whole host of juniors and sophomores that I kind of want to coach for a couple more years too. So that makes it tough to go, to leave in those situations.
It's always tough. You see that freshman class coming in and go, ooh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I really like our junior and sophomore class, really talented. I don't know a ton about the freshmen yet. I think there's some talent there as well. But as we keep saying, I mean, we might have a few up and down years, but with the numbers we have, we're always going to be competitive. And so, there's probably never going to be a class where I'm just totally cool with leaving on. But eventually it will happen, but I still see quite a few more years left.
Very good. Coach Mike DeMilia from Blair Oaks, folks. The Falcons, right?
Falcons.
There you go. We're looking forward to being out there with them against St. Francis Borgia. We appreciate you taking the time today, Coach.
I appreciate you having me on. We're looking forward to seeing you on, what's the date again, the 26th?
March 26th.
All right. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, it's, Borgia's got a really good team. Coach Struckhoff does an awesome job. We're going to have our hands full. We got him last year, but, I have a feeling this one might be a little tougher. So, we'll see. It's going to be fun either way.
Absolutely. Thanks again for joining us. Folks, if you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. If you like it, please hit the like, share it out with your friends. We appreciate that. It helps all the algorithms, all that stuff. We appreciate your support. We appreciate all the coaches coming on, such as Coach DeMilia. And the more you support us, the more we can keep these guys coming and give you some good content here. This was good content. You Blair Oaks folks, get out there, support your team. I don't think you have too much trouble getting support from the community, do you, Coach?
Not at all. That's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, no matter where we go, there's just Sea of Green following us. And, it doesn't matter if it's a regular season game or a state tournament or whatever. I mean, there's always a ton of people. So it's a lot of fun for sure.
There you go. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters, Coach, give the hitters some advice.
Get a good pitch to hit and don't miss it.
That's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.